Hello everyone. So I thought today we would talk a little bit about working with tarot of vampires in order to get to know ourselves better. So of course we can look to tarot for divination. We can look to tarot for shadow work and for understanding, root causes and patterns of things and that type of work, and also for ancestral work, for ritual work, for all of those beautiful things. And that type of work is really powerful and beautiful, each and every one in its own right. But in today's video, I thought I would talk about using tarot of vampires in order to get to know ourselves better. So this is something I've discovered, the older I get, and also in the work that I do every day, working with people who are, at crossroads or at points in their lives where they're, reevaluating, self-evaluating, looking at making changes in order to live a life that's more in alignment with oneself. We evolve and we grow on our paths. And so there will be times when it's about coming to terms with the fact that we have changed, that we've grown. That we may not be the person we were 5 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever that time frame is, that there's something that's shifted within us. And this isn't a negative thing. This is evolution and growth. It's what we're here to do, right? So when we find that those things have come up for us, that we feel the change within us, the significant change within us, and we're kind of wanting to get grounded and understand who we are better and understand ourselves better, we can work with the tarot in order to do that, in order to understand who we are now. So, and I chose Tarot of Vampires because the guidebook is so kick-ass, and you guys know I talk about the guidebook. All of us in the community talk about how amazing this guidebook is. It's one of a kind. There's nothing like this guidebook. It's really, really special. So what I would do and what I would encourage you to do is when you sit down to do this work for yourself, just to check in with yourself, right? To understand yourself better. I would journal the experience and I would look to the guidebook at any point in time in the reading that I felt called to. So I just have that option there available for you so that you can reference that and get some deeper layers into the card meanings, because every time I work with that guidebook, I learn something new, or I'm like, my memory is jogged about something I had forgotten, or I find keywords or sentences that Ian's written that lets me shift a perspective on how I'm working with any given card. So I would encourage you to use the guidebook, and I would do much like I shared in my daily journaling in the last video that I recorded. I would journal what I'm feeling and intuiting, and then I would read the guidebook, meaning where it felt right for, each and every card, only one card, wherever I felt called to do so. And I would kind of jot down any notes about anything that stuck out with me from the guidebook that I want to remember going forward. So that's part of the practice you can build as well. Now, we're going to be using Tarot of Vampires for this exercise, as I said, but you can use any tarot deck you want to. And we're also going to be using an oracle deck. I'm going to be using the Magick of You Oracle because I've really been enjoying using that this week. So if you find yourself in this space and you want to do this type of reading for yourself, I recommend starting with 3 cards. And remember, as you're shuffling, to hold the intention of understanding yourself better, coming to understand and know yourself better. And so I'm going to kind of do this free form, but, if you want to jot things down so that you remember card positions, that's perfectly fine. But I don't get too stuck on card positions when I read. As many of you know, I read intuitively, insofar as I don't usually use a card spread. So let's say that, hold on one second, I'm shuffling. Sometimes shuffling just feels so good, right, guys? So let's say that we're coming to the cards and we're wanting a better understanding of ourselves at this time. So we're going to start with 3 cards. The first card that we draw is going to let us know who we are at this time. The second card is going to let us know how we got there. And then the third card is going to let us know an aspect of ourselves that would like exploration at this time. Okay, so the first card is who we are now. The second card is how we got there. The third card is an aspect of ourselves that would like exploration at this time. Okay, so now you can draw a clarifier from your Oracle deck off of each of these cards, or two of these cards, or one of these cards. Wherever you feel you'd like some additional information for yourself, you can then turn to your Oracle deck and you can draw a clarifier off of each of the cards, okay? So now I want to talk about interpreting the spread, because this is where, when we do card work for ourselves, at times it can feel a little sticky insofar as, like, how do I interpret the spread as a whole? So I'm going to walk you through how you can interpret this spread and getting to know yourself better. Okay, so I'm going to use this spread as an example. If anything I talk about in this example spread resonates for you, take that as a message from higher self for you. Okay, so the first question again was, who am I right now? And we have the 10 of Skulls and Ubuntu, compassion for others here. So in Ian's book and in this deck, he talks a lot about the 10 of Skulls really being about dynasty, legacy, and the harmony of kind of like reaching the fullest physical expression of something, right? So I can see, just from knowing that I drew a 10 here, that who am I right now is someone that, or excuse me, that who I am right now is someone who's completing a significant chapter in their life. There have been lessons that I've learned, and the Queen, the Empress on her throne, to me feels very much like there's an understanding of the lessons that I've learned, right? And Ubuntu, with compassion for others, is saying probably a part of this for me, a part of who I am right now, is that compassionate understanding of all the players involved in my personal story, right? And also for myself. Perhaps who I am right now as an individual is someone who's opening up to self-compassion, self-understanding, self-awareness. And sorry about that. It's actually nice out today here in New Hampshire, and so there's a lot of motorcycles out. It's a little bit chilly, but they're getting their last ride in before it gets really cold here. I digress. So an additional sub-theme of this, because I do have children, so if you have children, this may be something you want to explore as well here with the 10 of Skulls, is this idea of taking care of, being protective of that family energy as well, right? So we see that referenced in the 10 of Skulls here too, that there's something to pass on. So who I am right now also involves being a teacher and sharing compassion with others, sharing compassion through awareness, right? So we can see this referenced in both of these cards. And if I was doing this work on my own right now, I would spend some time journaling about those aspects of myself that I'm aware of. Okay, so this is our first pull for the first aspect of our spread. But let's say that I want to clarify that for myself. Okay, and this is an optional piece to this reading. So let's say, what is it that I can't see about myself right now? Now I know that our last card is an part of ourself that wants expression, and we're going to get there. But what is it that I can't see about myself in this 10 of Skulls right now? So what's hidden from me in this 10 of Skulls energy? All right. And here's the Fool, that I'm opening up to a new beginning. That the ending that I'm seeing here with the 10 of Skulls, the finishing of a chapter, is actually giving birth to a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance for new experience in my life, right? That perhaps things can, there can be more flow, right? That I could be open to more flow here if I embrace the change and the fresh start and the new energy that accompanies the Fool. So that's an offering for if you want to go a little bit deeper in the reading as well, okay? So let's take a look at the second card in the spread, which is understanding how I got to this place, right? Now for this, I have serendipity merged with the flow and the hermit. It's interesting, I was just talking about the flow with the Fool there, right? So there's a sense with both of these cards that how I got to this place, the culmination of this chapter in my life, seeing the awareness that comes from knowing that there are some significant things in my life that have ended recently, and that there's an awareness of those lessons, right? And also like standing in my own power as a person, that's represented there with the 10 of Skulls. We can see that how I got there has a lot to do with the Hermit and if I've surrendered to the flow or not. So in those areas where perhaps I may not be, how should I say that? I want to make sure I say this right. In areas that perhaps I might be feeling like I'm being a little bit hard on myself, I could say that perhaps I hadn't surrendered to flow in certain areas and I had tried to control something, or I didn't want something to change. And so that's where that serendipity energy of merging with the flow, perhaps there's been some resistance to that, right? Especially with that Hermit energy of, going within, doing things alone, being by oneself, right? So there's like serious significant self-work here, right? And that's a positive. Let's say that I want to access the shadow side to the Hermit too and understand, okay, in what ways, perhaps was shadow coming up and led to some of the stickier areas that I've experienced over the last, few months, years, right? And so here's the Sun. So this is a good example for if you get a card and you're like, what the fuck do I do with this in a reading, right? When we look at the Sun in its shadow aspect, it can be feeling disconnected from an experience. So where I'm looking at the shadow of me resisting the flow here, I could reference with this card that perhaps the shadow aspect has shown up in ways of maybe not allowing myself to be happy or making things harder than they needed to be. Now, at this point in your reading for yourself, you can go ahead, if you want to do some shadow work on that, by asking yourself some questions as you're journaling, asking yourself, well, why was I resisting the flow? What's inside of that for me? Why do I feel like I have to work hard in order to be happy, etc. Right? So you're going to kind of follow your own trail there if you feel called to do shadow work off of that. Okay. But I can see from the Hermit and the Serendipity card that how I got to the place I'm at right now has very much been because I am blessed in having assistance and help. And also because I have gone within and done personal work, right? That there's clearly been a time where it's been necessary for me to have some time to myself for self-reflection, right? And that's led me to the Ten of Skulls, the Ten of Pentacles energy. That's the current expression of myself at this time. So now we're going to take a look at, it's interesting, if this was an actual spread and I was really doing this work, there's a lot of major arcana in this very small spread, which means it's a significant chapter in one's life. So now I'm looking at this part of me that would like to have expression, that would like to be able to express itself this time, that would like to be a part of my conscious experience. And I have the the Devil card and the Oblivion card. Open your arms. Isn't that card beautiful, guys? I love that image. So the part of me that would like expression at this time is clearly the part of me that wants to be spontaneous and have fun and be open to an experience instead of trying to control and be safe in something, right? This is clearly saying that there's a part of me that wants to be playful, to be adventurous, to try new things, and to not need to always stick to a schedule or do things a certain way because it works. So there's definitely a part of me that's crying out for that kind of playful, adventurous energy and to just have fun and laugh, right? With that Devil energy, the Devil's not always negative, right? So this would be what I would look at exploring in my journaling for myself. How can I open up to that? So let's say I want to ask my deck, how do I open up to this playful energy? How do I let myself start to do that, right? So how do I let myself start to do that? Hold on a second, guys, sorry. So if that's what I want to ask, then here's another major. So then I would look at, I would pull another card. In this case, we get the Judgment card. So if I'm looking at this as an explanation for me of how I step into this playfulness, there's something I need to let go of, right? There's something that I need to allow to have ended back here in this Ten of Skulls energy. So how can I fully release it? So let's say that I want to ask that of my cards. How do I fully release that? And then I have the Queen of Cups, by allowing myself to acknowledge and feel my feelings in regards to whatever it is that I need to let go. Okay, so this is a spread that you can use anytime you want to understand yourself, get to know yourself better. And you can see that there are areas in the spread where if you want to go deeper, if you want to have more exploration, more self-exploration for yourself through the cards and understanding of where you're at right now, you can very easily, there are jumping off points with each card that you can go in a deeper direction with if you would like to. I've given you examples of where you can pull clarifiers for each and every card here, but if you want to just keep it short and sweet, you can just use those 3 tarot cards for this spread in order to understand yourself better. And of course, I would encourage you to do some journaling around how you feel you've changed as well. Like you've done the tarot reading and now maybe marry that in your journaling to like just how you feel in general without needing to look at the cards, right? And what you're kind of integrating and understanding about where you are at this time. Maybe some, especially around the third card there, what parts of you would like expression at this time. Maybe you could do some journaling about exactly how you want to be playful, right? Is there a way that you want to express that for yourself and like really allowing yourself to step into that? So this is what I would encourage you to do if you're feeling called to get to know yourself a little bit better after a time of change or a time where you feel like there's been significant growth for you within, or you're just feeling like you're out of touch with yourself and what your personal needs are. In addition to that, if you wanted to add another card of like, what do I actually need right now? You could add that as a 4th card in the spread for yourself as well. So I hope for those of you who feel called to try this, that you find this spread helpful. As always, it is an honor and a privilege to connect with you all. I am sending you all so much love and many blessings. And as always, I will see you in the next video.